Hey, what's going on, everyone? Today we're taking a look at a Teams certified speakerphone built for the conference room. We're taking a look at the EPOS Expand 80T. As you can see from the boxes behind me, we're not just taking a look at the 80T speakerphone itself, we're also taking a look at the optional Expand 80 mic pods, as well as the Expand 80 table fixture, a mounting component that you can use on the table for holding that 80T speakerphone. Now, before we get to the unboxing, setup, and demo of the speakerphone and associated components, a quick reminder that if you are not yet subscribed to the YouTube channel, please hit that subscribe button below. Make sure that you turn on notifications once you do so that you don't miss out when I come out with awesome new content like this. And of course, like the video if you liked it. Even if you didn't like it, like the video, and then share it all over your social media channels. Greatly appreciate the support. And with that, let's get to the content. The Expand 80T can be purchased as a standalone speakerphone, but it is also now being paired with EPOS's Vision 3T video bar, along with the new control touchpad they've got for a complete Microsoft Teams room solution. Today we're just looking at the speakerphone. I'm going to go ahead and put a little icon in the upper corner here, a little card, if you will, as YouTube calls it, so that you can take a look at the Vision 3T video we did earlier. Popping the top of the box open, we've got the Expand 80T sitting right there in its protective plastic wrap. We'll pull it out. It's held firmly in place with these bits of cardboard around the edges. To get that plastic wrapping off, on the bottom side, we've got this fold-over piece that is sticking there. We just undo that, pull the device out of the plastic wrap, and that's our first look at the 80T speakerphone. Right underneath where the speakerphone was is, of course, the documentation. We can see this is our quick guide right up top. These two blocks off to the side are just filler, but we've got an extra box at the back here. Power supply, USB-C to USB-A adapter, USB-C to USB-C cable, and all the little components to add on to our power adapter for whichever locale we may live in. Now, the 80T can be a standalone speakerphone, but if you want to have it sitting maybe in the center of a conference table that is a long conference table, and you want to add up to 2 of these mic pods on either side of it, you can attach these optional Expand 80 mics to the bottom of the Expand 80T. Let's go ahead and pop the top open there. Just like in our other box, we've got the speakerphone wrapped in a protective plastic film. Pull that open there. Slide it out of the plastic, and you can see that it is attached already to the cord that will be connecting on the other side to the Expand 80T. So cable already attached. When not in use, we can wrap the cable under here for storage, but then the cord will run from the 80 mic pod over to the 80T. And of course, our quick guide inside of the box. And our Expand 80 mic comes with this USB-C to USB-C cable, which allows us to connect to a computer so that we can manage our mic through the EPOS Connect software. And finally, we've got the Expand 80T table fixture. This is really more of just kind of a mount or a cradle, if you will, for the top of the table. Removing it from the box and then opening up the plastic here, we've got a set of screws that will go through the holes on the bottom side of this fixture, attaching it directly to the table. On the underside, this has a red kind of grippy pad. It's a smooth gripping pad so that it won't hurt the surface of the table, but these will screw into the table, so there is that. And then, of course, there are holes at the bottom, should you be running cables through the bottom. And, of course, there are holes on the sides if the cables will be coming out the side of the device. This is more than likely going to be the case if you are running the optional mic pods from the Expand 80T. You're probably going to have those cables coming out the fronts, backs, or sides. While we're not going to install the fixture anywhere permanently, we'll go ahead and take the 80T, set it into the fixture, just so you can kind of see how this is going to look. It sits in there nice and flush. We have the holes that show up on the sides and, of course, the front and back. That way, wherever we need to run the cables, they can come out there. And of course, they can come out the bottom if they need to as well. Looking at the surface of our ADT speakerphone, we got our branding in the middle, kind of that speaker fabric running all along the top of the device. We've got the Microsoft Teams button up here, which will activate Microsoft Teams, bringing it to the surface of your screen if you're using the device in personal mode. We can also switch the device into shared mode when it will be used within a conference room space. But this can be used in a personal capacity, maybe an executive room or wherever else you may want it. Pressing the Teams button down for 2 seconds will activate Cortana, and then just one time, of course, activates the Teams client. There are various ways in which you can connect the ADT to whatever system you're using it for. You can either use NFC via the NFC button here. You can pair with Bluetooth. Maybe you want to connect your mobile phone to the device. You've got Bluetooth pairing. There's also the native Bluetooth dongle that is tucked into the side of the device. You can use that. It's already prepared so that you don't have to worry about trying to get that connected in if you're connecting into a laptop. And then, of course, there is a direct USB connection, USB-C going USB in and out. If you need to connect to USB-A, we saw we had that USB-C to USB-A adapter. Right up at the very front, we've got our power on and off button. That is also the hang up call button. We've got our answer call button, and the user guide shows a number of features and functions for call handling that are built into these two buttons. I'm not going to go into detail of all those capabilities, but there's a lot of different call control built in via long presses, short presses, single presses. I'll leave that to you to explore if you're going to use the device in that capacity. And then, of course, over here on the left, we've got our volume down, volume up, and our mute button. And we've got our LEDs up here. The user guide also goes over a whole window of different LED combination possibilities that will exhibit depending on what you're doing with the device. There is a combination of holding down one of these buttons with one of these buttons that takes it in and out of personal mode and in and out of shared mode. So as I mentioned earlier, this can be used in a conference room space with the Expand Vision 3T, but you can also use it as a personal device, which is kind of what we're going to demo it today because I'm not pairing it with the room. We're using it as a personal device. Bringing the device around to the side, you can see the aesthetics of it, the look and feel. We showed you a second ago where that USB, pre-paired USB dongle is. It is plugged right in via this little component right here at the back of the device. Setting the fixture off to the side and taking a closer look at the bottom of the device, you can see where the cables are intended to be run. The cables will come down into this bottom compartment here. And if we look in there, you can see there is a Kensington lock slot on that side. And on the other side, we've got a port for our power and our USB-C. The power and USB-C will then come up through this little channel right here with these prongs holding the cables down, and they'll route out either side. The lock can come right through the middle if you're using the lock. You'll also notice these two ports right here for our optional mics that can be used. We're going to use one of them in our setup. The cable then will run along this little channel, and then you can run it out the front of the device, the back of the device, or out the sides of the device. If you look closely over here, we'll see this is kind of meant to have that cable for the mic coming out there, and we saw in the fixture that there are holes for that on either side. The other thing we'll call out while looking at the bottom is that we've got rubber grips all along the edges and on this inside portion here, ensuring that if you're just having the device sitting on the table as is, it's not slipping and sliding around. Taking a look at that optional satellite mic, we've got our mute button right at the front. Of course, if you're using this with the ADT, if you mute on the ADT, it's going to mute here and vice versa. The cable at the back is already pre-attached, and that is our audio cable, going to go into one of those two audio ports on the underside of the ADT. If you want to store the cable or wrap some of the cable up, it will simply wrap around the inside and just get stored in there like so. We've also got the USB port right down here. You just kind of dig your thumb in there. That rubber flips up, exposing the USB-C port. That's so that we can connect these to our PC and manage them in the EPOS Connect software. And again, if we do not have a USB-C port on our machine, we can use this adapter to plug in that USB-C cable here and then plug in the USB-A side to our laptop. All right, let's get this thing wired up. Pretty simple process. We've got that USB cable that will plug from the ADT into our laptop. We can see we plug USB in down here. Once that's plugged in, we can see we can run our USB out the side here. Next up, we've got the other end of our mic that we are using, that 80 mic, the optional mic pod. We're going to plug it in right here in this little port. Got to see that if I get some better light. And once it's plugged in, it should sit nice and firmly below the surface of the device so that as the device is sitting down, that's not protruding. And we'll run that cable along this channel. And finally, we've got power to plug in here. I am not using that Kensington lock, so we're going to ignore that slot. But we get the power plugged into its port at the bottom. Once we're snugly plugged in there, we'll take that cable, we'll run it through this little channel at the top. We can see that we've got a power icon right there showing us, hey, just route that through the side. And again, if we had a lock, it would come right down the middle there. Now with all our cables in place, we'll go ahead and set this in its cradle. And with it in the cradle, we can see that it is sitting flush in there. Our cables are coming out that spot at the bottom. And we've got a cable coming out the side for USB. We're good to go for plugging it in and taking it for a test drive. Okay, so right now we are about to plug in the Expand ADT. You can see in our EPOS Connect software on screen that we've got nothing present. None of our devices are connected and powered on, but we have our devices sitting over here ready to be recognized. So I'm going to go ahead and plug it in and we'll watch it all come to life. And with that, we see the Expand ADT come into life over here on the device. We also see the mic pod. They both have LEDs lighting up, so we're in good shape there. And we can see on screen that the ADT has now showed up in the Connect software. It says that it's up to date, so that's awesome. I'm going to do a little bit of a refresh here just to see if there are any updates available after that initial plugin. And once we are good to go on updates, then we'll move along with taking a look at our settings. And there we go. We see that the Connect software itself would like an update, but the ADT is fully up to date, so we're not going to worry about updating that. Going back over to Home, we'll click on the ADT and take a quick look at the settings available to us. So under connectivity, we've got Bluetooth. It's enabled or disabled. I'm just going to leave it enabled because connectivity via Bluetooth is usually pretty desired. We can rename the device. I mentioned earlier that we could use a key combination here to switch from personal to shared mode. You can also use the Connect software to do that. We'd switch it over to shared. I'm going to leave it in personal. But you can see here it gives you a warning. If you change that setting, it's going to disconnect Bluetooth paired devices. Also, it says personal mode maintains pairing list for easy reconnection. Shared mode clears pairing list to avoid unwanted reconnection in shared environments. So we obviously don't want someone who is paired to this device walking into a conference room where the device is part of a conference setup taking over the speakers in the room. So that's why you would put it into shared mode. We'll leave it in personal for now. The button control clear pairing list is enabled. We'll leave that alone here, but we have the clear pairing list button. Scrolling on down a bit, we've got sounds and notifications category. So ringtone, we'll leave that on rather than off. Voice prompts, we're going to leave those on as well. You can choose your language for what voice prompts you want. On call handling, do we want multiple call handling to be enabled? Yes or no? I do want that enabled, so we'll leave it alone. And then finally, under general, we've got button control factory reset. That's enabled so that we can factory reset the device if we want to undo any of the previous settings that we had already put in place. If we go over to general settings, we have our default headset is not selected, so we'll select the Expand ADT. Our soft phone is Microsoft Teams, so we'll leave that alone. And then pause media is enabled. And once you've got all the settings the way you want them, you would of course click Save Settings. Now to demo that Microsoft Teams integration, we first need to make sure that the Microsoft Teams client is set to use the EPOS Expand 80T as its main audio device. So we click on the three dots at the top, we go into our settings menu, we go over to devices, and under audio devices, we select the EPOS Expand 80T. We got that selected, so we should be good to go. Now what we'll do here is minimize our Teams client and imagine a scenario where you've got a whole bunch of windows open. You don't want to have to go through the annoyance of filtering through them and trying to find. You just want to bring the Microsoft Teams client to the forefront of your screen. So we'd come on over to the ADT and we would press the Microsoft Teams button. And by pressing it once, it brings the Microsoft Teams client to the forefront. Again, pressing that down, holding it for a couple seconds, activates Cortana, which I'm not going to do. But that's the first bit of Microsoft Teams integration that we'll call out. Now let's say we have a call coming in from outside of our organization. We see the call coming in on the laptop. Our Expand ADT is blinking, showing us it's there. We'll click the answer button and we'll mute ourselves on both screens so that we are not causing an echo there. But you can see that just a simple answer, clicking the answer button on the ADT makes us answer the Teams call as it's coming in. If I clicked the mute button on screen, which you saw me do, we see that we are now muted across the ADT itself. And looking over at the AD mic, it is also muted. Now, if I press the mute button on the ADT, it unmutes us here. It also unmutes us on the mic. And back in the Teams client, we see that it has unmuted us there as well. So the mute works in both locations, and it works over here. If we press mute on our mic, a mic pod, it shows muted. We also show muted here, and back in the Teams client, that carried all the way over to where we're muted in all three places. So the mute button, regardless of where you're sitting at the table, whether you're at the far end of the table and you can only reach a mic pod, or whether you're near the controls of the meeting and can do it within the meeting itself, you can. The integration in Microsoft Teams is fully there. Okay, we have now changed up our configuration a bit. We've removed the mic from the back. We've taken out the USB cable and the mic cable from the front, so we've only got a single power cable coming out the side now. Again, this could be routed through the table for 0 cables if you wanted. You can see that we are connected via Bluetooth, and what I did is took that native Bluetooth dongle out of the back, plugged it into the laptop over to the side, and the speaker came on and said, Bluetooth dongle 1 connected. So we had a voice prompt, because we left that enabled, letting us know we're using that Bluetooth dongle for our point of connection to the PC. With that, let's do a little demo of what it sounds like to actually record audio through the Expand ADT. Welcome to the audio demo portion of the video. We actually have the Expand ADT sitting on the desktop here. I am speaking to the video, recording my audio through the microphones on the Expand ADT. No separate mic pods, just the built-in microphones on this device. If I press the mute button, now you can hear me once again. Little demo there that we are indeed using that microphone. I muted, unmuted, you can see it working. I'm sitting about 2 to 3 feet from the microphone itself, from the speakerphone itself. The recommendations are that you sit at least 2.3 to 3 meters or less away from the Expand ADT as well as the Expand AD mic. You don't want to be any further than really that. I mean, that's a good distance. You're thinking nine-ish feet there. It's a pretty sizable room that can be captured by the speakerphone with satellite mics where needed. But there you go. This is the demo of recording your audio through the microphones of the EPOS Expand ADT speakerphone. And there it is. We took a look at the EPOS Expand ADT speakerphone, as well as that optional Expand AD mic and the table fixture. The device is certified for Microsoft Teams, and it can be used as either a really nice personal device or a shared device for those conference spaces. Again, it is now being packaged up and bundled with the Vision 3T from EPOS, as well as the touch controller that they have just come out with for a complete Microsoft Teams room solution. So versatile use cases with this particular speakerphone. Hope you found the video helpful. If you did, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not already, turn on notifications, share it with all your friends and colleagues. Sharing is caring. And please don't hesitate to stop back in and check out the next device overview video.